In 2025, Germany recorded 17,604 corporate bankruptcies, an average of 48 companies going bankrupt every day. The highest figure in 20 years, surpassing even the worst moment of the 2008 global financial crisis. We are not talking about a country at war, in acute recession, or under financial collapse. We are talking about Europe's largest economy. Over the past 5 years, while the United States grew by 12% and the Eurozone advanced 4%, Germany grew by 0.1%. Real GDP is sitting at virtually the same level as 2019. And the model that built the German economic miracle, export manufacturing, cheap energy, open global markets, a growing workforce, is cracking simultaneously at every one of its foundations. There's a difference between a crisis and the end of a model. A crisis has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The end of a model doesn't make that kind of noise. It shows up in the bankruptcies no one covers individually, in the jobs that don't come back, in the companies that open offices in another country instead of expanding at home. And when an economy of this size stops growing, it doesn't stay within its borders. Germany accounts for a quarter of the entire Eurozone's GDP. How did the country that was a global benchmark for decades reach this point? What are the forces destroying the model from within? And why do they resist every attempt at a solution? And what happens to Europe when its locomotive stops pulling? To understand what is being lost, you need to understand what existed. Germany's post-war economic story is one of the most impressive of the 20th century. A country destroyed by 2 world wars rebuilt its industry, created one of the largest export sectors in the world, and became the locomotive of Europe. The model was simple in theory and extraordinary in execution. Precision engineering, premium quality, globally recognized brands, and a highly skilled workforce. And when the model cracked for the first time, in 1999 with high unemployment and sluggish growth, Germany did not wait around. It pushed through radical labor market reforms between 2003 and 2005, held wages down, cut unit labor costs, raised price competitiveness, and came out stronger than it went in. The problem with a recovery that impressive is that it can create a dangerous illusion. The illusion that the model is invulnerable, that German engineering will always find a buyer, that exports will always grow, that the car industry will always dominate. Germany became, in part, a victim of its own success. Because while the country was celebrating its recovery, the world was changing in ways that would make the model harder and harder to sustain. German manufacturing, the engine of the country's economic growth for decades, entered a continuous decline in 2018 and never recovered. The sector's value added has fallen 7% since its peak. Overall industrial production and sales have dropped nearly 15% from their historical highs. And here's the detail that stings most. This did not happen because global demand fell. When foreign demand, especially from China, recovered after the pandemic, German manufacturing simply did not benefit. Exports did not rise accordingly. Germany was losing market share to competitors that were faster, cheaper, and increasingly equivalent in quality. In 2024, German exports fell 2.1%, reflecting a continuous loss of market share, particularly against China. In 2025, the first quarter showed export growth, only because American firms rushed purchases ahead of tariffs. That effect reversed completely starting in the second quarter. And then came the bankruptcy numbers. In 2025, Germany recorded 17 out of 604 business insolvencies, the highest count in 20 years, an average of 48 companies going under every single day. Even at the worst point after the global financial crisis of 2008 to 2009, the number was around 5% lower. In December 2025, insolvencies ran 75% above the historical pre-pandemic average. A survey found that 471 companies with annual revenues above 10 million euros filed for insolvency in 2025, a 25% increase over the previous year. Since 2021, major insolvencies have nearly tripled. At a bakery in Lower Saxony, 220 workers lost their jobs when the company closed. At a sausage factory in Saxony, the entire staff was let go. These are not abstract numbers. They are entire communities that depended on businesses that simply stopped existing. The miracle did not end suddenly. It was corroded by 4 simultaneous forces that Germans had known about for decades and chose not to address in time. For decades, the relationship between Germany and China was symbiotic. China bought German machines, German cars, German equipment. It was the largest export market for Volkswagen, for BMW, for Siemens. German executives flew to Beijing as if it were a second home. That is over, and it happened fast. Chinese manufacturers, BYD, Geely, NIO, closed the technological gap with Germany's car industry and are now winning market share in the very territory where Volkswagen had built its empire. The company that had placed its entire global strategy around the Chinese market watched that market slip away. In response, Volkswagen announced an In China for China strategy, local development with local supply chains. Analysts consider this crucial to the group's long-term prospects. But what that strategy means in practice is that jobs which used to stay in Germany will now stay in China. The Chinese pressure is not limited to the auto sector. Mid and high-level manufacturing, mechanical engineering, chemicals, industrial equipment is being systematically displaced by competitors that offer increasing quality at far lower prices. Germany lost its central competitive advantage without having developed an alternative. The most revealing signal of how far this has spread. France's president went to China to ask for help, saying that European industry is facing a life or death moment. He tried to explain to the Chinese that their trade surplus is unsustainable, that they are killing their own customers, mainly by not importing much from us. The visit ended without any major deals being signed. Germany built its prosperity by being the world's premium supplier. Now the world has found a supplier that delivers 80% of the quality at 50% of the price, and that gap is shrinking. Here is a paradox that defines the German problem. Germany's historical leadership in automotive, mechanical engineering, and chemicals, exactly what built the economic miracle, has become an obstacle to the future. Think about it this way. Imagine you spent 20 years becoming the best in the world at making analog cameras. You have the best factory, the best technicians, the best suppliers, and then the smartphone arrives. Everything you know, every piece of infrastructure you have, every supplier relationship you built, all of it is optimized for a product the world is leaving behind. Moving to the new world means destroying what you built, and that hurts too much to do voluntarily. That is exactly what is happening to German manufacturing. Existing infrastructure, specialized skills, and established markets in traditional sectors have made it extremely difficult for the German economy to diversify into high-tech areas like IT and biotechnology. Private R&D spending remains relatively strong by international standards, but it is concentrated in these mid-tech sectors that can no longer deliver the growth required. The most revealing example is artificial intelligence. AI runs on data centers that consume vast quantities of power. Estimates point to a potential doubling of global electricity demand from data centers between 2022 and 2026. Germany is not positioned to meet that demand at low cost because its energy prices remain elevated not just historically, but relative to neighboring European countries as well. The direct consequence, Germany is losing the AI race not for lack of talent. It has world-class researchers, but because the physical and regulatory environment is not competitive. Tech companies build their data centers where energy is cheap and predictable. That place is rarely Germany. Germany's productive potential has been revised significantly downward. For 2027, it sits 0.7 percentage points below what had previously been forecast. The reason? Workforce potential, corporate investment, and productivity growth, all declining simultaneously. Picture a factory manager in rural Bavaria. He has 47 employees. Over the next 5 years, 11 of them are going to retire. He posts job openings. He gets few applicants. The good applicants ask for salaries his margins cannot support. He is not facing an economic crisis. He is facing arithmetic. Now multiply that manager across all of Germany. Over the next 10 years, 20 million German workers are expected to retire, while only 12.5 million are entering the labor market. That gap of 7.5 million people is not a pessimistic projection. It is mathematics. It is the result of birth rates from the past 3 decades. And Germany is not just one more country facing this trend. It is the worst case among major economies. The IMF was explicit. Germany's working-age population is projected to decline faster than any other G7 economy over the next 5 years. When workers are scarce, their costs rise. And when costs rise without productivity keeping pace, competitiveness falls. German unit labor costs have already deteriorated relative to other major European economies like France and Spain. Higher wages with stagnant productivity is the formula for losing market share. And it is already happening. There's a mechanism that slows adaptation further. Germany keeps workers on payrolls at reduced hours rather than letting them migrate to more productive sectors. It sounds like protection. In practice, it is anesthesia. It delays the pain and worsens the outcome. And the demographic bill does not stop at the labor market. An aging population will keep social spending structurally elevated for decades, regardless of any political decision. The European Commission projects Germany's deficit will reach 4.0% of GDP in 2026. There is no labor market reform that brings back 7.5 million workers who simply were never born. Picture 2 young engineers, both graduated from the same German technical university. Both have a software idea that could transform industrial logistics. One of them tries to raise capital in Germany. The other goes to San Francisco. 2 years later, the one who went to California has 3 funding rounds, 15 employees, and a contract with a Fortune 500 company. The one who stayed in Germany is still negotiating with banks that want real collateral, not promises of growth. This is not a made-up story. It is a documented pattern that has been repeating for decades. Germany's traditional financial system funnels too much capital through the banking sector and too little toward innovative, higher-risk businesses. It works well for financing established industries with predictable cash flows, exactly the type of company that is in decline. It works poorly for financing startups that need multiple large funding rounds before generating profit. The numbers confirm it. Venture capital grew from an average of 0.02% of GDP in 2011 to 2013 to just 0.09% in 2021 to 2023. The direction is right. The pace is nowhere near enough. There are fewer and smaller venture capital funds in Europe than in the US or Asia. Germany educates the talent, pays for the education, and then loses those people to economies that know how to monetize innovation. For decades, Germany operated under a constitutional rule that severely limited public borrowings, the debt brake. The intention was fiscal discipline. The side effect was chronic underinvestment in infrastructure, education, and future capabilities. The reform approved in March 2025, creating a special fund of 500 billion euros and exempting defense spending above 1% of GDP from the rule, is described as bold by analysts. But economists warn that the funds are more focused on subsidies, social spending, and tax cuts than on high-quality public investment. And they do not fix the structural design flaws of the rule itself. Goldman Sachs projected 1.1% growth for 2026 and was honest about the limits. We do not view these reforms as game changers yet. Cyclical growth driven by government spending is not the same as sustainable structural growth. Four forces, all simultaneous, all structural, all pointing in the same direction. Germany is not going to collapse financially. It has solid institutions, reserves, a current account surplus, and a robust social system. None of that disappears overnight. That is important to say, because what is happening is more subtle than a collapse, and that is exactly what makes it harder to stop. What is ending is the model, the specific combination of factors that made Germany the economic locomotive of Europe for decades: globally competitive export manufacturing, cheap and abundant energy, open and expanding global trade, a young and growing workforce. Every single one of those pillars is cracking simultaneously. What comes in its place is an economy that still functions, but that grows less, innovates less, exports less, and increasingly employs people in lower productivity sectors. Germany's productive potential is projected to grow at just 0.4% per year in the years ahead, without significant structural reforms. For an economy that was once a global benchmark, that is a change of identity. And when Germany stalls, Europe feels it. Germany accounts for roughly 1/4 of the Eurozone's GDP. When it stagnates, the entire bloc loses weight. And a Europe that loses economic weight is a Europe that loses its voice in the decisions that shape the world. Here's what to watch. Business insolvencies over the coming quarters, because experts do not expect any reversal in 2026 and are projecting further increases in large company failures. The German deficit, set to reach 4.0% of GDP in 2026, the highest outside of a recession in decades. And whether the 500 billion euro special fund actually flows toward productive investment or gets diluted into subsidies and current spending with no structural impact. In 1999, when the Economist called Germany the sick man of Europe, Germany healed itself, reformed its labor market, contained costs, returned to growth. The difference this time is that today's problems do not have the same cure. There is no labor market reform that brings back 7.5 million workers who simply were never born. There is no industrial policy that makes German energy as cheap as American energy in the short term. There is no decree that forces Chinese companies to stop innovating. The German economic miracle was real. It lasted decades. But it was built on conditions that no longer exist. The question is no longer whether the miracle is over. It is how long it will take Germany and Europe to accept that fact and start building something different in its place.